that the youth are sort of conditioned over time that because you're the leaders of tomorrow, just sit at the corner, wait your turn, remain apolitical, and just wait. Where we are sorting out things to taquita. Um, Also, you say that no amount of political freedom will satisfy a hungry person. But at the same time, you say that the youth have the power now. You've got the soft power. You've got the ability to make things move, but do away with the what you call the capitalist idea that change is instant. So, in all those things, Willie, what are you saying? If the like you said, the tomorrow is today, and that then the youth are the leaders of today as they are. How do the youth exercise that leadership? How does that leadership of the youth come in? Is it in occupying political offices? Is it in expressing themselves like you do in your activism? How do the youth how should the youth exercise that leadership that they have today?
I believe the youth should exercise the power that we have today in the little spaces and in the little things that we can do. If you can do poetry, amplify it through poetry. If you can take up a political seat, go for it. If you can hold spaces, if you can hold these leaders accountable, if you can amplify voices, do that. We as I said also, leadership is in delegation for me, and leadership is in planting seeds in spaces where probably we will not take shade in. So every space that we can occupy, every voice that we can amplify, every poem that we can write, let us do that. I believe leadership is in the little spaces as it is in the large spaces. What I said about we do away with the capitalist idea of change is that we have also to respect consistency and growth. And they have used that against us to depoliticize us. But what we are telling them is that our time is now and our time is ripe. And that is what we saw during the June 25th protest, because we have same people, the Kinakalonzos, Mdavadis, Raos, Rutos from 1992. We need new people, we need new blood, not as affirmative action, because we have so many talents, we have so many leaders who are dying before the transition takes place. So leadership for the youth right now and during this space is taking all the spaces that we can take, using every tool that we have to advocate for better.
Thank you, Willie. Couple of comments, and you can go also into the comment section. We'll be seeing them and we'll be sharing them as well. Kumbukeni says, if there was political freedom, there'd be no hunger. Rico, if we view the youth as the leaders of tomorrow, then tomorrow is just a moving target that will never arrive. My view of the youth as the leaders of tomorrow is the moment that the youth decide to take responsibility and act, and that is now. Um, Tomorrow begins when the youth organize to lead. That's Anthony Muridi. Let me also see that Karanja says, I believe our takeoff moment was 25th of June last year. You say 2025 Karanja, but I think you mean 2024. The reaction from the government was far from pragmatic. Right now, the former president and the former DP have an axe to grind with the administration. We can use that. Um, so just keep sharing your views and thoughts on this. This is part of conversations that I've been holding with my friends, and we run a campaign called the ZKE campaign. And this ZKE campaign is all about just amplifying the voices of the citizens, the majority of the citizen being the youth, and it ends up being 1 + 1 is equals amplifying the voices of the youth. But how do we bring these voices into mainstream platforms? How do we shape them? How do we help bring the conversations forward? Remember last year, there was a call for comments by the Office of the Attorney General on a draft bill that they were drafting. And this was on public participation. We came again here, we had a conversation about what should a public participation law look like. And we collated all those views on the ZKE platform. We handed them to the Office of the Attorney General as memoranda. again, we came back to these platforms and we said there's a bill that's being drafted and it's on the youth. So there's a new youth bill that was being drafted, and we said, what are the ideas? What do you have in mind? What can you say about it? And again, we took those to the authorities concerned. And the whole idea here is amplifying these voices, taking them there, and then when there's feedback, we come back and say, so this is what the youth said. The Attorney General looked at it and they accepted or rejected some of these ideas. So this is what the ZKE campaign is all about. And Alan Cheboy is our digital strategist. I'll give him just a moment to uh, comment about it. And also, we are posting a link on the comment section. There is an anonymous questionnaire that we are running on a platform called Remesh, where we just say, come, let's engage. What are these things that are important to the youth in the year 2025? How can we elevate those conversations and take them to the right offices? So this is just not just talking, it's then collating this information and then putting it out there, putting it in public. This is what people are saying, agree, disagree. Um, they're going to the right office, agree, disagree, act or not act. Alan, tell us about the Ramesh platform and how one can participate.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric. So I think maybe just before I go to the Remesh platform and specifically how we are collecting the views of different youths within Kenya, I think just to contribute to this particular topic, so I think one of the gaps that we are trying to fill at the moment is when we say the youth are leaders of tomorrow, and when is tomorrow, and many of us have already mentioned that actually tomorrow is today, right? But one thing that we've always heard from government and from different institutions around, policy making, around different decisions that are being made, is that there is this gap. So they always say that, we've consulted the youth about this, and this is what they came up with, and this is what we're implementing as government, or we're implementing as leadership, and all these voices have been heard from the youth. But when you actually try and figure out where did you collect those voices, who did you consult? I think there's a very popular question that is always asked on X here in trending topics. When did you even consult these people to say that we need XYZ, right? So that is why the ZKE campaign was kind of developed, and that is basically the ZKE campaign is trying to have a vision of a sustained national engagement by and for the Kenyan youth. So what that means is that we have different issues that the youth are already expressing, and they are not expressing in barazas, similar to like how traditional avenues of communication have been done by government. So like people don't go to barazas nowadays. There's a lot of technological advancement. We're having this conversation on X. People are already on digital platforms. So one thing we were trying to think about is how do we use digital platforms combined with offline spaces, so that we are able to collect these views, and there's a record of these views being collected somewhere, right? And when we say that, the youth actually said XYZ or proposed XYZ that needs to go in a bill, like a public participation bill, then, where is that evidence? Where is that record kept? And how can we then use that to hold, institutions and government and leadership into account, right? So that's one of the key reasons why we are running these campaigns. As Eric mentioned, within the last 3-4 months, we've run quite a number of campaigns that are related to especially bills that are upcoming. I think all of you remember there was the public participation bill that was floated, and there was a request by government for input, and more often than not, you'll realize that a lot of these conversations are happening in offline spaces, right? People don't have a chance who are not, like, for example, in Kenya, people who are not physically present where they can go and engage with institutions, with like the people who are collecting the views. It's very hard for people to do that. So how do we then pull together a way? So we are using a couple of tools that use some bit of algorithms and AI and machine learning in order to look at which are the most popular views by majority of the Kenyan youth. Because as you can imagine, we are sharing a link, for example, to a conversation we are currently having on the chat. If you look at the ZKE platform, a platform called Remesh, And if you click on that link, you can imagine how many people across Kenya would be able to basically contribute through that platform. So if we have thousands of views about an issue, then we do like some bit of summarization using AI to be able to pull up what are the most common views, what are the agreements that the youths are having. And that is why I come in as a data analysis person, in order to try and figure out what are those most concrete and common views within the views that are being expressed in these platforms. Similarly, when people engage with our platforms on Facebook, on X, on TikTok, on different other channels, we are able to actually collect those views and then incorporate them into these public participation processes that are being developed. So yeah, that's mainly what we are doing. As I mentioned, if you go to the chat, and I'll probably also just post the link again, uh, you can see an example of how we've been engaging. Currently, we are doing an engagement of basically a review of what people have been saying around different issues over the last 3-4 months. Feel free to go to the link, check it out. There are a couple of questions that you'll be able to respond. There's some demographic information that we are requesting just to understand, whether we are talking to youths, whether we are talking to people in Nairobi, people in Mombasa, and there are a couple of demographic questions, but the wealth of information is in the contributions that are being made on that platform. Yes, but thank you, Eric. I hope that covers it. And yeah, looking forward to how this conversation goes.
Thank you very much. So that link is in our comments as well. ZKE has posted in the comments of this X space as we continue. And if you've got any questions, you can just ask there, and you can sidebar, and even Alan can respond. Hanifa, thank you for joining us and for staying on. I know you have a meeting to go to shortly, but let's come to you, Hanifa. When you talk about the youth being the leaders of tomorrow, and then the question is, so are the youth then taking up leadership? Are they in leadership? Can we feel that there's youth in leadership, or is there something that needs to happen so that then we can tell that the youth leaders of tomorrow has actually happened and the tomorrow is today? Hanifa, the mic is yours.
Hi, Eric. Thank you so much for all that you do and for inviting me here. Yes, I'm so sorry. I have another engagement to run to, but I had to make sure I made time to be able to speak about this. But can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. So I grew up hearing the words, the youths are the leaders of tomorrow, the youths are the leaders of tomorrow. It's something I grew up hearing. And at that time, when I was a bit younger, it looked like a promise, a promise of a reformed future for us, like they believed in us, like we were the saviors. But over time, I came to realize that the time the youths are the leaders of tomorrow was like the political class, I don't know, or everyone just using it to make us clean the mess that the political class leave behind. So the youths are the leader. So something will happen or a scandal, and you hear the youths are the leaders of tomorrow. Why should the youths bear the weight to clean up the mess of the political class and these selfish people, honestly? And it's so ironical when we hear such words, and this country is so, so, so cruel to youths. Nothing is working for towards our enlightenment or our future. Nothing is working for us. So they do not invest in the potential of young people, and then they go around saying the youths are the leaders of tomorrow. So I think the word leader doesn't have a timeline. And 25th June last year proved that, or the entire Mandamano period. I'm so, so proud of the youth of this country, honestly. I am super, super proud of us. And I think that timeline has shown that we are truly leaders. I'm amazed at how creative and how much potential we have. How much potential we have. Sorry, so there's a noise here. So we have so much potential that they tend to overlook and then keep singing that we are the leaders of tomorrow. So I think it begins now, like everyone has said. It's now and now. And we should really, honestly, really, all the youths, I'm even urging all the youths to come together and take political power. And I don't mean just youths, people with values and integrity, people who want a reformed country to come forward and take their space, like claim this. Um, so sorry, but can you still hear me? I'm sorry, I'm in TZ and I'm struggling with the network.
Yes, we can hear you, Hanifa.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So for us to be the leaders of tomorrow too,
Mm.
they need to invest in us, in our potential. Education systems must evolve to foster skills that are relevant to today's rapid changing world. And businesses should open their doors to youth led innovation, because there are so many youth led innovations that don't take off or just die because no one, literally, this country does not do anything towards lifting up the youths. So there's a lot they can do, and there's a lot they can do to come out and boldly say that we are the leaders of tomorrow. And I don't think we need people to tell us that we are the leaders of tomorrow. We need to all stand up. Honestly, we need. And let me reference something. I don't know if you've heard of this campaign by the Zambian youths. It's called Youth for Parliament. So I
Mhm.
was recently going through it, and I was amazed, and something just sparked in me, and it truly showed what power the youths have. Totally, it will be really great if we, the Kenyan youths, can actually emulate that. So the Zambian youths really fought hard and got youths in parliament. It's so amazing. The entire campaign is so amazing, and I'm in awe. So it really sparked something in me, and I wish we could develop something like that. Just coming
Mm.
together, we have the power. We are the majority in this country, and we keep. I don't know. They just keep wasting our potential in every field, in every single way. They just keep wasting us. And I think
Mm.
last year really opened our eyes. And personally, I get so many DMs and calls of youths in different parts of the country that really wants to take lead this time. Okay. So when they
Mm.
said we are the leaders of tomorrow, yeah, and the question is when. It is now, honestly. It was June 25th. It was the entire last year. It is now. We
Thank you.
can do this. We can really come up with so many initiatives to just empower youths. I don't. I believe in the youths of this country. It is now. We no longer really let the political class decide for us. Honestly, we don't need these people to tell us what to do. We've already seen that we can do it. We can lead. So I urge every youth out there, just rise up. Just let's all come together. All differences aside.
Yeah.
Honestly, we are the hope of this country currently. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hanifa, and thank you for the points that you raised. That it's now and it's already being done, and it's already being seen and being felt. Last year, and what the youth were able to do to mobilize, to come out, to speak, made very many changes. Even now, everybody is thinking, all right, I've got to be sensitive to be aware that there's the majority in the room are the youth, and those youth have a voice, and those youth have something to say. The conversation continues. Shiko Keheka is joining us now, and she was a bit tied up earlier, so she was not here at the beginning of the conversation. Shiko is a TEDx speaker. She's a leader of the Tribeless Youth. She's very, very a charged person when it comes to pushing for democracy and matters of governance. So, Shiko, thank you for joining us. We began the conversation by asking, when we say the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, when is tomorrow? When does tomorrow begin? How do we know that the tomorrow is here? And I've advanced the question further as you come in, Shiko. You're going to respond to this as we speak today, because many of the people that you last today, and they'll tell you tomorrow is today. Um, so if the youth are the leaders of today, are we saying that what we are seeing in our just the entire expanse of our society has aspects of youth leadership? Are we feeling the impact of youth leadership right now? We can say that, yeah, at the national level, national politics, maybe the voice of the youth is not heard. But how about in other spaces? Do we have the voice of the leadership of the youth, the impact of the leadership of the youth in our private sector, in our homes, in our churches, in our mosques, in our schools? Are we feeling that today being led by the youth, Shiko?
Thank you, Eric, and my sincere apologies for being late. I'll just pick it from where Hanifa left it, where the entire of last year, young people changed the dynamic of what youth leadership looks like. And I'll just go away from politics. Majority of our organizations are basically run by young people. And why am I saying that? The bulk of the work that is done digitally is done by young people. Most of these old men and women might not be able to do the amount of work that goes into social media. We're seeing more corporate organizations joining Twitter. Some of them are now on TikTok. And the people you see, the faces you see, are the faces of young people. It tells you a lot about the ability and the power of young people leading the space and creating spaces for growth, that is economically, for growth politically, for growth even in terms of devolution and how devolution is supposed to work. If really we gave young people that room to lead or that room to actually show us the direction, I'm so sure devolution would be more successful than it is right now. That takes me back to saying, even in our political scenes, and one of our comrades, Wanjiro said that we even fools grow old. And the fools we have in our political spaces cannot even run their social media pages. So who does it for them? Who spins propagandas for them? It's young people. So yes, we are seeing young people do a lot of things, whether destructive, whether we term them not good, but they're taking lead in those spaces. It's unfortunate that today, when we speak about the leadership of young people being today and our tomorrow being today, the coalitions we're seeing form, I think the youngest in those political spaces cannot be any less than 60 years. So for me, it saddens me that those are the after June 25th, after the 2024 uprising, we are still seeing these old men organize themselves into coalitions and thinking this is the buy-in for young people. So they're still using us as bait, as tokens for voting. They're still using us as tyranny, as they call us. Yet that does not reflect when it comes to unemployment, because again, the majority of the people who are unemployed are young people. Again, the people who are being overtaxed are young people. So the burden of this country is greatly being carried on the backs of young people. And unfortunately, there's little to say about what the leadership gives in return, or how the leadership thinks of young people, because we've seen the president himself call them criminals. We've seen him claiming they're indisciplined kids, claiming they're idlers online. So when we see such coming from the high powers, then it tells you no one really cares in this political setup that we're in. They really do not care. And again, everything, Eric, goes back to politics. Everything goes back to if the government can decide. And yesterday I was having a conversation with someone about the chaos that have been happening in Nakuru and the injustices that we've been witnessing for the past 1 week or so. And what they said is that as long as the government has not said anything, which MACU, our county government, has not said anything yet, nothing will happen, nothing will change. So it tells you when young men are being killed every day and being dumped in the lake, and when a young man is assaulted and we do not know where they took the body, and they comfortably come out and claim that he escaped into the bush while injured, Are they trying to tell us that he was mauled by animals and that's why they no longer have the body, or that they killed him and they do not care where they threw the body? So when we're seeing such and we're not seeing anyone speak, the bigger question I have is that what happens to young people? Because this is not a new case in Nakuru County. It has been happening in Lake Naivasha. It has come closer home in Lake Nakuru. So until when will we sit down when young people are being assaulted in the name of them waiting for their leadership, which is tomorrow, and the tomorrow is the one that never comes? And I think most of us, especially the millennials and then the Gen Zs, and especially the millennials, during Moi, and because we came during and we were more aware of ourselves during the exit of Moi, was we were still being told vijana ndio viongozi wa kesho. And every politician said that very proudly. And came Kibaki, the same conversation. Came Uhuru, the same conversation. Now we're here again with Ruto and we're speaking the same conversation. Until when will we make these conversations and turn them into actions? And maybe it's now. So every time I see young people really split about old men being their presidents, the bigger question I'm asking is, but who are the young people who are vying, and why are we not having a conversation about them, Eric? I think that's my submissions for now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chico. And yeah, well said. You still haven't answered that question. So let me ask you, are we feeling the leadership of the youth in, if you're not in the political space, and even that I'll push back on, but in other aspects of our society? Are the youth leading?
Yes, they are. And I think I've answered it, though not directly. And I've
Mm.
said the reason why we have corporate companies very active and vibrant and making good memes on social media is because young people are taking lead. And you can feel the impact. The reason why their pricing last year was a success is because young people took lead, took charge, and they stood for what is right. The reason why we have people like Kop Shakur being harassed and all this is because he's a young man who took charge and stood for what is right. So, yes, we are feeling it. Yes, we are seeing young people lead, but structures and systems are set to make them look like young people do not know what they want. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, somewhat it does, yes. And thank you. Thank you very much, Chico. So the conversation, for those who may have joined bit halfway through the conversation tonight, is on youth and leadership. The youth are the leaders of tomorrow. Everybody has heard that when they were growing up. I'm sure even Moi Kibaki had it when he was growing up. He's now been dead a couple of years and he died past the age of 80. The youth are the leaders of tomorrow. When is this tomorrow? So how do you know when the tomorrow comes? And if today we say that the majority of Kenya's population is aged 35 and below, and the population that is aged between 18 and 35 is still a very substantial population in this country. That is people who are in uh, at the age where they can lead, and they can lead in whatever sphere, whether you are leading it as home, whether you're leading in your village, in your local communities, in Mbakumi, in youth organizations, in family organizations, in church, in wherever. If the youth are then the leaders of today, what are these barriers that then stop the youth from going all the way in leadership across board? And that's, I want to open the conversation now for the next couple of minutes, about 30 or 40. Anybody who'd like to speak, I can see there are very many people who requested the mics. I'll be coming to you, and I just want to request that we do 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes marks so that we can get as many perspectives as possible. And the question is, so how do the youth take the mantles of leadership today? If we've all, by acclamation said that today, tomorrow is today, so then how do the youth take over that mantle of leadership today? Cynthia Zion, you've got the mic now. Let's start with you. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Eric, for the opportunity, and good evening to everyone on this space. My name is Cynthia. The youth are the leaders of tomorrow. No, I tend to disagree that the youth are not the leaders of tomorrow. The youth are the leaders of today. I joined the space when Hanifa mentioned something about Zambia. Yes, I read an article about Zambia, and I read about Nelson Mandela. When Nelson Mandela visited a certain school in Zambia, he told the young people that you people are not the leaders of tomorrow. I'm here to correct this slogan or this quote and saying that you people are the leaders of today. Why am I saying this? This is because the young people have got all it takes to lead a nation, to lead the society and community and any institution across the country. And when Nelson Mandela told them that it's high time you stand up as the young people of Zambia and take back your country, uh, elections happened and the young people came out in large numbers and they voted. Most of the people that voted during that day were between 35 of age and below. And the first mayor that was elected in 2020 was a guy at 27 years old. You can imagine a young man at 27 years old. You can imagine how impactful is that person at that age until when he will be able to rule. I agree that the reason as to why we people are not given these opportunities by our politicians or the people in the government, it's because they have taken this slogan or they are misusing this slogan, or they are using this slogan to undermine our energy or our capability in running something or doing something in the country. Because I believe that power and prizes are things that cannot be passed from one person to the other person so easily. And that's why you find out that an old person or old leaders will tell you that there are things that we went through to liberate this country or to bring democracy in this country. There are things that we did in the past when you people were not yet born that we cannot allow you people to take over. And you wonder why an old leader would say such when these people cannot even manage themselves. These people they are in the offices, but they need young people close to them to act as their secretaries, to act as their personal organizers, to act, they need all these young people, but they don't want to put us in those bigger positions. Yet they know that very well that we are capable of doing even better than them. Another thing is that the youths are the leaders of today. I'm saying the youths are the leaders of today because when we went out during 25th June last year to protest, you can tell that majority were the young people, and we sent a strong message not only to the leaders of this country but even to other countries out there. And many people admired our efforts as the young people of Kenya. Many countries admired our efforts as the young people, our efforts as the young people of Kenya. Suppose we are given a good chance. Suppose we are given a good chance to lead a country. What is it that you can do? We can do bigger than that. We can do bigger than that. The problem is that they don't believe in us. So I can urge the young people of this country that do whatever it takes. Just use the smallest energy or the materials you have or the knowledge to pass the message out. And if you're capable of going for those political seats, go for them. Pass your messages through. If you're an artist or you can sing, you can write poems, do whatever it takes to send a message to these old people, old leaders, because we cannot wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow has always been said since time immemorial. And today, if we keep saying that we are the leaders of tomorrow, we will never be the leaders of tomorrow. We need to put in mind that we are the leaders of today.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you very much. You went a bit off the 2 minutes mark that I'd given you. So let's try and get into the 2 minute mark. The next speaker, I'm going to give this one to Brian Osoro. You've got it 2 minutes maximum.
Yeah, asanteni sana. I hope I'm audible.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I would take a different approach to the subject matter of today, which is the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. And you'll forgive me because I'm a bit slow. First of all, I think it's important we define or we try to understand what gives meaning to words. Because right now, if you walk around and ask any Kenyan, who is a leader or what is a leader, I am so sure as they're defining who a leader is, they'll tell you he's a person who can come to our Harambes, he's somebody who can, give us some money. A leader is somebody who has all the solutions. A leader is, all these things that we, that for the most part don't make sense. So I think our definition of what leadership is what has been, in a way, degrading this struggle. Since we cannot really, because, and I would say part of the reason why people saying they're tribeless, they're leaderless, is because of not taking time to understand what those are. What is the problem, with tribes? What is the problem with leaders? Like now, I can see a generation who have defined tribe as the problem, without understanding why we have tribes. Tribes have been misused. It doesn't mean that tribes are bad. Leaders have misused the society. It doesn't mean that leaders are bad. It's our definition of who a leader is. In other societies, or maybe we can call them advanced societies, they understand that a leader is not somebody who is supposed to give us money. A leader is somebody who's supposed to get our inspirations and represent us. A leader is not somebody who can tell us that they have all the answers. No, that's not their work. For instance, I can tell you can look at our president. He imagines that he's the one that is supposed to come up with solutions, as opposed to representing. So we are in a representative democracy, and where I think the youth, or the people who consider themselves as young, it's important for us to really understand what we mean, what some of these words mean, because without understanding that, we will be stuck where we are. Because right now, you'll find people standing and they are youth, and then now they expect that they need to be voted because they're youth. Reality does not work like that. That is not how reality is. Leadership is not. Okay. Anyway, let me just yield.
Thank you very much, Brian. Okoth Opondo.
Thank you, Eric, and happy to join everyone on this panel. I'm glad of this conversation that is happening. Just to pick it from where the speaker, the way I just spoke immediately before I got in, left it, the issue is that if you want to be a leader, actually, because most young people are leaders, but I tell people all the time, because I also got rudely reminded that you cannot sell yourself. You cannot say that the agenda is that elect me or allow me be your leader because I'm a youth. The moment you throw yourself into that pitch and you want to be a leader, or you want to run for a political seat, then it simply means now you have to champion the agendas, not that elect me because I'm a youth or because I'm a woman, but elect me because I might be a young person in this community, but I understand the thing that we are going through, and I have solutions, or I have ways of addressing them. And the other part that I've also really liked in this conversation, when we are talking about when is this tomorrow, the reality is that this tomorrow we are the ones to make it happen, because we are the people holding these people in power. We are the ones usually called to mobilize, to abuse online, to we are the goons. We are almost everything. Anything you look around, every time the people keep on frustrating other young people are the fellow young people who are paid to do various things, to trash them online and do everything. How about we just destabilize and know that power is taken, it is not given. If you're a member of a certain political party, make life difficult in that political party until you rise to the position where you are if you're in an organization. But I mean, by making life difficult, that do it in the positive way, but make sure that people can feel that you are doing something, because it is not going to be easy. If we keep on waiting, it will be given to other young people, but the children of the same people that we are struggling against. Thank you. Back to you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Okoth, and good points that you raised there. I just want to keep, poking this one and this bear. The thinking that leadership is only when you're elected and you're in parliament, when you are elected into an executive position, is that the complete meaning of leadership? And that's why I want to keep coming back and asking, so how else are we leading? We saw the leadership that happened and brought out the people and the youth in large numbers onto the streets across the country last year. That was leadership. There were people who were taking their time, dedicating and organizing. There were people who were listening to them. That was some sense of leadership. Shiko, you come back and said, yes, when you see in the private sector, there's a lot of youth leadership. How is that leadership then influencing even the thinking? When we say, the youth are not given the space to breathe, the youth are misused in politics, how is the leadership of the youth helping to change from the old skin of the old people who are in leadership now to the new skin, new thinking, new way of doing things, new form of accountability, new ethics, new values in our society? How are we feeling the youth in that? And do the youth have space in it? Wycliffe, you have the next 2 minutes. You can attempt to answer part of those questions that I keep asking. Wycliffe Shikuku.
Hey, hi, Eric. My name is Shiguku Weekly. I want to speak on an experience about a young person or youth as leaders. I don't think there's leadership in youth because what we're looking at the political space. But when you go down to the Kijiji, to Mashinani and other area, there's no youth leadership. And the kind of leadership you're having as a youth is very personal, with a very selfish and personal interest. All of us have seen what has happened. Like a young person comes, people trust him, but they end up going after their own interest. And now what they do, they join the big wigs and they become politicians. For instance, I come from Transoya. When you see some of the people we were vying together with, because me and Yanguka, I vied for MCA in Transoya, but when you see people like Chesang, people that we trusted as young people, as youth, and we trusted their leadership, they ended up being politicians. And what they're doing exactly what other politicians, the old politicians have done. But when you come back to even the funeral, Nyumba Kumi, and all these things that Wamama are doing back to the village, the Miganda for Wamama, you can't see a young person leading there as a secretary. You'll only see those old people doing their own things, and youth are somehow doing their own thing. So personally, I don't think if as young people we are doing enough in terms of leadership, other than our personal interests. In political space, the only people who will fight you are your fellow young people, and they are working for all these old folk, and they will try to put you down. So I don't feel like as young people we are doing enough to take up leadership in all sector of life. That's my contribution.
Thank you, Wycliffe. Shisoka, you have the mic.
My name is Samuel Shisoka. I share similar sentiments with Willie about leadership and your question about tomorrow, what tomorrow entails. To me, tomorrow is more of an illusion created by the current status quo, our current leadership to control young people from engaging in political discourse. But again, it's quite absurd. We get a group of, what do I call them, boomers, talking about a future where they will not be there, a future which they might not even see. To me, tomorrow is just a time of self-actualization as an individual, as a group, and to start agitating for change, the type of change you want as a society. And again, look at our current type of leadership, and again, look at somewhere like a workplace. You get the vast majority of people in these offices are aged between 45 and 60, meaning they rarely understand what young people want. And throughout the world, everything is changing. The workplace is changing. Society needs, as a country, we need to start empowering young people to get into these spaces. My way forward as a young person, I believe we can be political without being politicians. You see, because remember, you don't need youths in political positions for change to occur. What we need is a society that understands what we want as the young people. We can agitate for change as a group of young people who are after a certain goal. And what we need again is a system that promotes meritocracy. We don't rarely do we promote meritocracy in Africa, not just Kenya, as Africans at large. As Willie pointed out a good idea about capitalism. Capitalism is not a bad thing, you know. Capitalism is more effective in increasing economic opportunities, and it has proved in different societies. However, it only works effectively if society promotes meritocracy. Again, meritocracy. We need people who are qualified to lead a certain position. We should choose. We should not just appoint people because we are related to them or they are our political allies. No, we need qualified people in certain positions. Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Shisoka, for a contribution. Also, what you're posting here on social media, we can see it. I mean, on the comment section, we can see it all. And remember to participate in a poll that we are running with ZKE campaign. If you just go to the comments, you will see that we have posted, ZKE has posted a link, and also Alan Cheboy has posted a link, and it's a Ramesh poll. It's a quick poll that basically just seeks to see what is it that the youth would like to see as the issues being prioritized in the country. It just takes you, it's a quick one, just multiple choices for the most part, and then other areas where you just type in and give your thoughts. Let's see what the comments here are saying. The leaders we elect matter, but Kenyan citizens need to wake up. 500 or 1,000 bob given to convince you to vote won't make the service available to you. Even if we need to elect the youth in political space, it's important to check their discipline in their daily lives. TBIM only will not lead. KOT ambassador said youth need to consolidate their power on a fellow youth, just like how other youths did in the 90s. Engineer Mkuu says, let's force ourselves into leadership. Let's occupy all offices at 65 and above. Moses says the youth need to crystallize a political ideology that will drive their politics. What exactly does youth leadership mean? What does it mean when you say, youth leadership, as we keep talking about it all the time? So I want to give the mic now to Sir Albert. You have the mic for the next 1.5 minutes.
Thanks a lot, Eric. A few pointers I noted as everyone was also delivering on the topic. I want to first bring to perspective who are the older generation, not the youths, the opposite of the youths. For me, they are capital owners. They're the capital owners in the country. Definitely, the youths are always realists. We are going, and of course, we are always targeting what we feel and what we know that is right in a certain situation. But whenever the capital owners, of course, are threatened, they come back together. They try to protect the wealth in the country. We've seen that in the handshake here, Uhuru. We've seen it with Ruto and Raila. We've seen it often that we have a political system where the politicians in our country are the wealthy people. They're not in industry, or they're not, but they're actually benefiting from politics. That's a big mistake already, of course, from the skeleton of the nation. A win for me as a youthful generation that is uprising now in Kenya will be political capital. I think the movement that happened in the previous year gained traction, or actually made the president to actually move or shake because of political capital. It was really blindsided. He didn't see it coming, but if we could, or if the youth could actually put themselves together, form a party disciplined on certain ideologies, and then have a different way of course, running the party, then we can actually we can have enough political capital and then shake, of course, the older political the political players in the market. Because I would want also to say, and as much as we remain idealistic, politics will be different. When time comes and people go to vote, definitely you'll need to have picked your vote, you'll need to have registered, you'll need to come out and vote, you'll need to actually elect the youth that we want, or the party that we want to actually propel us to the next, to a better or ethical society. If we keep wishing that this political class will change, then we are going the long way. I think I made a tweet earlier about one, Capitalism and Freedom, from the book Capitalism and Freedom, a quote by Milton Friedman. He also speaks about socialism being really incompatible with democracy. So we have a system where, of course, the current president becomes a bit, they become more famous, or political parties that are actually making political players famous, and we expect them to actually act in our favor. From the same book, either we actually also question them often, that they feel the need to actually do right because the society is always questioning them. But I feel for me that will be a long con game, and the best way to do is to actually mobilize, form political structures, be disciplined, and then fight for the space, the political space, which is the leadership space, but at the same time change things as others also keep advocating. I return the mic to you.
Sarabat, thank you very much. General China?
Yes. Thank you very much, Eric, for the chance. Yeah, so me, what I can say about youth are the leaders of tomorrow. Yeah, indeed, we are the leaders of tomorrow. We are the leaders of tomorrow. The problem with us youths, we don't believe in ourselves. I think since last year, from June 25th, I think there's something that rang in our mind that it's high time we take a step into leadership of this nation, because the people we have always entrusted into leadership of this nation have failed us. So as a youth, we are privileged enough because most of us actually are professionals. You are actually having a course you have learned. Maybe you are a doctor, you are an engineer. That is a good profession. That one give you that's a qualification for you to be a leader. So we don't need to count on who can we back so that someone we can back to lead us. That one we should fade that one away from our mind as per now, because we have all what it takes to be the leadership of this nation. So you want to tell me that Oscar Sud is better than most of you? We have very many demagogues in the parliament. There are some of them who don't even understand themselves, but we have very many youths outside here who understand themselves. So it is high time we take the mantle upon ourselves. As Anifa said here, as we approach the electionary period of 2027, we should come out. Very many of us should come out. We should not be held again to the captivity of still supporting these old folks. Which experience do they have? I'm hearing people talking about experience here. Is it experience of looting? Is it experience of these abductions we see? Or just something? Is that what we call experience? That if that is the experience we need, then me myself, I'm going for it on personal level, because I believe in the capabilities. I believe that I'm well qualified to lead. So this is a challenge to each and every youth. Don't count on these people anymore. Their time is gone. The future. Look at yourself in 20 years. Where will you be? You will be now the elder. You will be counted now as the elders. So don't still give these people a chance that you say you need qualification. Then it means you are not qualified. Then who are you in the society? So if you start degrading yourself, if you start diminishing yourself, then there's nowhere you will go to. You must believe in yourself. We have seen young people. We have seen the president of Burkina Faso is a very young man. The president of Argentina is a very young man. So it means we young people can do it. We don't need to bank on the old folks for us to get to the leadership. Let me rest it there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Generali. I want to give the mic now from Generali to Mkurugenzi. Mkurugenzi, you have the mic. And if Mkurugenzi is not ready, then let's get it from Kenya 252, Justice for All.
Good, Eric. Congratulations for your continued advancement in the ladder, and thanks for hosting us today. I just wanted to really spend probably a minute to acknowledge Dr. Albert. Good job. Good presentation there. My suggestion here would be that what do we as the young people have that can get the government of the day turn their heads toward us? As much as I want to agree with those that have submitted previously in the line of we have something to offer. but do we have something to extent that nobody is going to ignore us? So for me, I want to implore the likes of Dr. Albert that I known. I can see Dr. Washiko is here. Guys, create something. Do something. For me, I'm not okay. I'm not in the youth space anymore, Eric. So create something that is going to make the either government of the day or the leaders of the day turn their heads and say that there is something here that cannot be ignored. So, as much as we want to claim our space in the leadership, what do we have to show? Be very innovative. Build yourselves up. Because right now, the way things are moving, in my opinion, is that everybody is trying to move in terms of especially Kenya is complicated. I can tell you, for me, Kenya is a very complicated society to maneuver through, but you have to distinguish yourself as a group. Do something that is going to make the leadership turn their heads. So I will land by saying this. What exactly are you here to offer? Is it just your youthship? You cannot just be here and telling us that, oh, because I'm a youth, then I need to get into leadership. Because I'm a youth, then I need to be given a space. Youthship is not enough to give you a place in society. What do you have? Talk to the other people that you think they're not youthful, but maybe have their own um, uh, way of supporting you to get better. And in that way, then you are going to occupy your space and position in society. So usifikirie tu peke yake just because you are a youth, you're going to earn yourself a position. It won't work.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And let's hear, I'll be closing this conversation shortly. And thank you very much for everybody who's commenting and everyone who's asking for the mic. So just to take a couple more, I'm going to ask the next speakers to try and also just shorten their presentations. The treasonous criminal at Kitindi, you have the mic. Gone? Well, we had the treasonous criminal who had requested and gotten the mic. So let me give it to Oko. Oko, take the mic and let's hear from you. And then after Oko, we shall hear from Gustavo. Gustavo, you've asked for the mic for a bit of time. So Oko, you have the mic.
Can I be heard?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I think from the topic of today, I would say that the first problem that we have is the problem of the mind. This entire thing has been planted in our mind, just like our speaker had said. And it appears that here we can say that the youths are leaders of tomorrow, today. But when you go in the real life, that is not the case. Because when you look at, for example, in our constituencies where we come from, people have already started organizing for 2027. But when you look at the people that they are talking about, they are old men. The sitting MP is an old man. The one that is being touted as his challenger is another old man. But there are also young men that have already said that they want to be in the race, but nobody is giving them that opportunity, because it has now been put in our mind that for you to be a leader, you must attain a particular status in the society, and that status actually is always put to be money or maybe age, something like that. But young men are out in numbers. We have numbers, but we have been contained by these gentlemen. These I don't want to call them old men, but these are the seniors of the society that we cannot lead. It is them that can lead. So the first step is to liberate our minds. Once we've liberated our minds, then we go to the next step. That is find a good leader amongst ourselves, because young people, the people who have integrity, and also the people who don't have. We don't just pick a person because he's a young man, but we pick him because of his integrity. That's what I could add at this point in time, Mr. Eric. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oko. Economist, you have the mic as we come to concluding the conversation. Muraya Geshohi.
Thank you a lot, Eric, for this platform. So one thing we have always been told since we were in primary school that we are the leaders of tomorrow. We don't understand this tomorrow will come when, but according to me, our tomorrow it's very today. Our today is our tomorrow. Just like we the religious readers assure us there is life after death, the political readers are the dealers of hope. And the moment that we are seeing that those people regrouping themselves, let me call them, most of them are the Moisians and dinosaurs. They have been leadership since back then, even most of us, we were not born. So now it's high time for the young people of this country to come together and take the instruments of power. For most of us who we are in our 20s and 30s, these are the most productive years that we have. We shall never have other years that will be productive and to have something to live in our old age. Now it's high time to say enough, it's enough. For a good example, there is a time this MP from Kikuyu, Kimani Kimanongo, once said, he said that there was a time the youths were going to demonstrations using iPhones, and after there they were going to eat at the KFC. What does that imply? That implies that these youths, or the young people of this country, they are now very dependent. They just want an environment where everything will thrive and they will have something to do themselves. But these cocoons or these crooks in leadership think we are still in the era of our parents or grandparents, where they wait until the election time. They come with a packet of funga, with a packet of rice, and a 150 shillings, and they are assured of getting a vote. But right now, they are dealing with a very enlightened generation, a generation that was educated during during the time of President Mwai Kibaki. So what I can say, it's now all about coming together as the young people of this generation. Let's hold hands together. Let's roll our sleeves and get into a line of action and clench our fist and face these people and say enough, it's enough. And as I finish, I want to tell the young people of this country, the more we delay in ousting these people out of power, the more we are delaying our progress and success in this country. So it's all about coming together and brainstorming, and we shall be somewhere. Thank you, Eric, for the platform.
Thank you, Muraya, and thank you everybody who's participated in this conversation. And I always want to keep throwing it back. We are very, very good in this country at voting out people. How well do we do in voting in people? And by voting in, it means that we start by identifying the qualities that we want and then looking out for people in our society who have those qualities and encouraging them to put themselves forward for positions of leadership. But we don't do that. We just vote out people because we think that they have not done well. And now we put people say anything else but this guy. Even if it's a dog that's an alternative candidate, we shall vote for them. Is that a good thing? It doesn't help us. It doesn't help us at all. So as we conclude the conversation today, I want you to think about that as we continue. I want to give closing remarks moment now to our main speakers for tonight. Willie Oeba, who's an activist, and Shiko Heka, who's a pro-democracy advocate. Starting with you, Shiko. You work a lot with the youth across the country, based in Nakuru, but you do a lot of youth engagement across the country. What is it that you would say would be the conversation that needs to happen to break the barriers, whether it's a mental barrier, whether it's a systemic barrier, to get youth in positions of national leadership.
Thank you.
Sorry, Shiko. I think you have a bit of an issue, but
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was saying, just to appreciate the point that you've made, that we are we are too good at voting out people, and actually very, very poor at voting in people, because the people we vote in, we just vote them in to punish the other party. Unfortunately, we do not look back and ask ourselves what these 5 years mean to us as a people, and being that we're the financiers of the wrongness or the goodness that this person brings to the table. So I think keenly to look is to say our young people have started a journey, and one of the key conversations we need to start with is shutting down the mentality that being a youth is not enough, because we do not ask the elders if being an older person is enough for you to vie. The thing is, we need to start making leadership communal. We need to take it back to our communities and say, I know this person. If it's really, I know, or really, I know where he comes from, I know what he stands for, and I know when we elect him, these are the mechanisms that this person has put in place that I can hold him accountable in the long run. The second conversation we need to have is that our work does not end at the ballot. Our work continues after the ballot, and the work now becomes the work to follow your money, track the promises, but at the same time, keep this person accountable, because this is your employee, and you need to make sure every dime you pay as tax is accounted for, and it's equated to something or some progress that is being done in the areas we stay in. Thirdly, is to say we need to stop having a conversation of our leadership being tomorrow and asking ourselves, how do we take up power? How do we turn the knowledge that we have, the power that we have as a people, to action? And this is to the young people. We cannot complain when we are not registering to vote. We cannot complain when we are not coming out to vote. And we are not actually stepping and saying, I will vie for this position. We need to also offer ourselves. And I think that's the bigger conversation to have. We are seeing young people change the dynamics of what we believed in. We are seeing our parents now, who Kitambo, you could not tell them to listen to Gengeton, now dancing to Gengeton with their young people. We are seeing a change in generations. So can we start changing the political conversations we have in those homes? And I think lastly is to acknowledge that the dynamics are different from last year, June. The only one thing that we need to do is stop buying into tribal or negative ethnicity kind of conversations. The politicians are the same. The forests, even the forests now are not different. It's the same forest, just rebranding every time. We must start forging a new path for our country, and we must realize that every coin that you pay as tax is supposed to be equals to a service. And when someone does a service, we must stop worshiping them and thinking that this is out of this world. This is why they are there. So we must normalize service delivery. We must normalize accountability. We must normalize transparency. Eric, thank you very much.
Thank you, Shiko. Thank you very much. Willie, same questions. What are the words that you'd leave us with today that say, I mean, this is how we now break down these barriers, the barriers that could be stopping anybody who's listening, anybody who would like to participate from participating?
Okay, thank you so much, Eric. Thank you, everyone who has been listening in. It has been such an amazing conversation just to listen and to contribute. Also, just to start with something I've noted, because all of us here use the timeline, let us be keen not to demonize the word activism. So activist, an activist or an activist simply means an active citizens, and all of us here can be active citizens. One, over the years, we as the youth of Kenya have shared the ability to be easily exploited by the oligarchs. And now the youths have been gentrified from the urban areas, and we cannot afford to live in places like Nakuru and even in Nairobi. And the oligarchs move to rural areas for leisure, but the youth now are trying to leave the rural areas to look for livelihood. So we need to take back the authority to defend our dreams. We as the young people and we as the youth of Kenya. Let us stop electing the better devils. Let us stop voting to punish others. And let us not. I did a piece in about the voter apathy, where I said voting is the only place where we draw the line. But after the elections, we come back and complain. Let us stop agonizing and start organizing, because the constitution will not protect us. It will never protect us, but the spirit of the constitutionalism is what will protect us, because they're using the same elements of constitutional change to undermine the same constitution. And I love some ideas of neoliberal orientation of governance, such as cutting government spending. So let us use everything that we have, we as young people, our energy, our voices, let us use that to advocate for better. Because I, as a spoken word artist, I believe that activism through art requires people to stand in the gap between what is real and possible, and expand challenges by expanding whose stories gets told. Because if we stop writing, then what happens to people who cannot hold a pen? So let us educate each other. Let us accommodate each other, and let us keep amplifying the voices in the little spaces that we have. As we said when we began, sometimes and all the time, leadership is in the little things. Even as we say we are the leaders of tomorrow, it begs the question, what is leadership? Let us offer leadership in the little spaces that we are in, because also leadership is in planting seeds in spaces that will grow trees in spaces that will not take shade in. Thank you so much.
Asante sana, Willie. I want to pick some of the comments that have also been posted in the comment section, because some of them are very profound as well. Somebody who is having a youthful conversation, but he's called Methuselah. The irony of it says, I find it challenging to believe that our problems as a nation are because we don't have young people in leadership. I just wish we define the kind of Kenya that we want and then use our numbers to push government towards the direction like we did in June last year. Junior Matenjagwa, it doesn't matter where you're from, this is our country and we have to do what we can. Offended says, tomorrow was yesterday. The tomorrow that they are talking about is aimed at making young people asleep. Kariobangi Youth Justice Center, what this country truly lacks are young individuals of substance, integrity, and depth. Those who are firmly grounded in their beliefs and principles. We need young leaders who are driven by purpose and a genuine desire to serve, not easily swayed by power or influence. Sajero says, who was behind last year's demonstrations? Were they the youth? How come then several mandamano took place, but not the level of that the country had witnessed in June? If the youth were behind last year's epic mandamano, how come they're struggling up to date with uniting themselves? Again, it's provocative questions, and I like those ones because they just keep us thinking and asking ourselves the deeper questions. Wycliffe Shikuku says Hannah Rohiti, the young female New Zealand member of parliament, is a good example for this conversation about leadership and the kind of leadership that we have. Thank you very much for coming in your hundreds to join us in this conversation tonight. The youth are the leaders of today. That's the main takeout. But then the today that we're talking about is you've got to see yourself as present now. You've got to see how you participate by being a leader. How do you become a leader? How do you express your values as a person? If you live a virtuous life and you're doing the things that you're supposed to do in the right way, then you're already taking up leadership. If you put yourself out there and say, I'd like to take up this responsibility on behalf of a group, that is leadership. If you say that this responsibility, we are doing it as a group and I'm playing my part, that is leadership. Leadership is very many things, but we have to do it. Asante sana. As you know, I've made the move, and very soon I'll be launching a new show that will be here. It'll be active this way on X Spaces, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and also on TV and radio. So just look out. NTV will be promoting that and saying when the date starts. But these conversations will continue. And I'd like to thank all of you for always participating. Have a good one. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye, Eric, and everyone else.
Those who've joined us, asante for joining. We are building up the numbers as the conversation begins.